All right, let's dive into this one. Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. I mean, this book is considered his masterpiece, and there's a good reason for it, right?
Yeah.
It was published right before his death and tackles these huge questions: life, faith, what it even means to be human.
I think what's really fascinating is that Dostoevsky doesn't just throw these ideas at you in the abstract. He takes all these big ideas
Yeah.
and puts them in this really intense family drama. And so you're experiencing them through the characters and their struggles.
Yeah, so set the stage for us. I mean, where are we and who are these Karamazovs?
All right, so picture Russia in 1880. You meet this family, the Karamazovs, and they're completely falling apart.
Okay.
The father, Fyodor Pavlovich, he's this larger-than-life figure.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that he just indulges in every pleasure you can imagine. He's totally irresponsible.
Oh, wow.
And then you have his three sons. Each one represents a different way of looking at the world, different philosophies almost.
Okay, so walk us through these brothers. What makes each of them tick?
Okay, so first you have Dmitri, the oldest son. Right away, you see this raw passion in him, almost an unchecked impulsiveness.
No.
He's constantly battling his desires,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to this woman, Grushenka, and his rivalry with his father for her.
Oh, wow.
Dostoevsky really seems to be playing with this idea that if we don't control our desires, they can completely destroy us.
Oh, interesting. So that's one son, total chaos, living in the moment. What about the other two? How do they fit into this?
All right, so then you have Ivan, the middle brother. He's the total opposite of Dmitri.
Okay.
He's an intellectual, always analyzing, questioning everything. But Ivan really embodies nihilism, like the belief that life is ultimately meaningless. There's no point to anything.
Right.
And so this leads to this central struggle in the book. Ivan's struggle with the existence of God. There's this famous line he asks, if God doesn't exist, then is everything permitted? It's a question that haunts the entire book. Honestly, it still haunts us today.
Isn't there a contradiction there, though? I mean, if everything's meaningless, why even bother to argue about it? It seems like he's wrestling with something that he claims not to believe in.
Exactly. That's what's so brilliant about Dostoevsky.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't give you these neat little answers. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Ivan's struggling with this idea that even if he believes life is meaningless, he still can't escape this need for meaning.
Right.
He's grappling with what a world without a moral compass would look like, where, in theory, anything goes.
So two brothers, two extremes. One's driven by pure passion, the other by this intellectual despair. What about the third brother? Does he offer some kind of middle ground?
That's where Alyosha comes in, the youngest. Now, he's a novice monk, so you might think, oh, he's going to be this simple, pure character.
Right.
But what's interesting is that Alyosha represents this active love and compassion. He isn't naive. He sees all the ugliness in the world, but still chooses to believe in goodness and change.
Okay, so we've got passion, we've got nihilism, and now hope. Is that what Alyosha represents?
He does represent hope, yeah. But it's not a simple kind of hope, you know. He doesn't shy away from suffering or darkness. He almost embraces it. It's like he understands that you have to face the darkness to truly see the light.
Okay, so we have these three brothers, each one representing this different part of human nature.
Right.
They're fighting with their father, there's this woman, Grushenka, and it all seems very messy. Where does the story go from there?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, because Dostoevsky doesn't just stop at exploring these philosophical ideas through his characters, right?
Yeah.
He throws in a murder mystery.
What?
The father, Fyodor Pavlovich, is found dead, and suspicion immediately falls on the sons, especially Dmitri.
Hold on. A murder mystery. So is The Brothers Karamazov like a philosophical thriller then?
You see, that's the thing about Dostoevsky.
Hmm.
He can't be put into just one box.
Right.
He blends all these genres and ideas together. The murder mystery isn't just a random plot device. It's another way for him to dig into the psychology of these characters. You see how they react to the crime and this possibility of guilt and punishment. It shows you who they really are.
Oh, interesting. So the murder of their father becomes this test for the brothers. It forces them to show their true colors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And through the investigation, you see these themes of responsibility, justice, even redemption really come to the forefront. It's like Dostoevsky saying that even in the face of something awful like a murder, there's still a chance for growth, for understanding.
Wow. Okay, I'm definitely hooked now. This is shaping up to be quite a story. We've got passion, we've got existential despair, we've got a murder, and somewhere in all of that, this potential for hope and redemption. What else can you tell us?
Well, we haven't even talked about the other characters, like Smerdyakov. He's this illegitimate son of Fyodor Pavlovich.
Okay.
And then the women, Grushenka and Katerina, They each play a part in this web of relationships and motivations.
So it sounds like there are a lot of moving pieces here. How does Dostoevsky manage to keep it all together?
He's a master storyteller, that's for sure. But I'll be honest, it's not always an easy read. He's going to challenge you, make you think.
Okay.
But honestly, that's part of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
He isn't trying to give you simple answers or a perfect ending, right?
Right.
He's forcing you to really grapple with these questions along with the characters.
All right, so maybe it's not a light beach read, but it sounds like it could change the way you look at the world.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's a deep dive into the human condition, one you won't forget.
This is just the beginning of our journey into the Brothers Karamazov. Stick with us as we try to unpack the brilliance and the complexity of this book.
One of the things that always strikes me about this book, is how Dostoevsky uses the setting to mirror the character's inner turmoil.
What do you mean? How does the setting play into it all?
Okay, so you have this small town, provincial Russia. It feels really constricted, claustrophobic even, and it really mirrors this feeling of being trapped,
Yeah.
both physically and emotionally, which so many of the characters are going through.
Okay.
It's like all their desires and secrets and resentments are all kind of simmering under the surface in this town.
That's interesting. So the town itself almost becomes another character,
Yeah.
reflecting all that darkness and intensity.
Exactly. And even beyond the town itself, right, Dostoevsky uses nature in some really interesting ways, too.
Oh, okay.
Like, think about those scenes in the garden or discussions that happen out under the open sky.
Okay, yeah.
Those moments almost feel like this temporary escape from the town, like a space where the characters can actually confront their issues.
It's like that contrast between the town and the vastness of nature highlights that struggle, right?
Yeah.
Between what's going on internally with these characters and the external forces pulling them in different directions.
Exactly. And this struggle, this back and forth, plays out in some of the most powerful parts of the book. I mean, think about Ivan's encounter with the devil.
Okay, you have to tell me more about this devil encounter. We've got passion, murder, nihilism, and now we're bringing the devil into this.
Well, it's not the devil in the traditional sense.
Okay.
It's more like this manifestation of Ivan's own inner struggles, like his anxieties and doubts. It's this encounter that really pushes him to the edge, forcing him to face what his nihilistic beliefs would actually mean.
So it's more psychological than supernatural, about the demons we all have inside.
Exactly. And this whole idea of facing our inner demons is so central to this book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just Ivan. Every single character is wrestling with something. Dmitri with his passion, Alyosha with his own doubts about faith, even Fyodor Pavlovich. As hedonistic as he is, even he seems haunted by something, some kind of emptiness.
So Dostoevsky's saying that nobody escapes this internal battle, but is there any way out? Can any of these characters find some peace, some resolution?
That's the question, right? And Dostoevsky doesn't make it easy. But he does give us these little glimpses of hope, these moments of grace, especially through Alyosha. Remember we were talking about him representing this act of love and compassion?
Yeah.
Well, those qualities are how he deals with all the darkness. It's how he finds meaning, even while surrounded by all this suffering.
Okay, so Alyosha is like a beacon of light in all of this. Does he show the other characters a way forward?
I mean, he's definitely a source of hope,
Yeah.
but even Alyosha's journey isn't easy. He's not perfect.
Okay.
He experiences doubt. He questions his faith. He makes mistakes.
And it makes him a lot more relatable, though, right?
I know,
I mean,
fair.
it's easier to connect with somebody who's struggling, who's also trying to figure things out just like the rest of us.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And it makes his compassion and kindness even more powerful because it's not coming from this place of thinking he's better than everyone, right? It's coming from this deep place of understanding and empathy.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about being there for other people, even when it's hard.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from the Brothers Karamazov. It forces you to face these really dark parts of human nature, but then it also reminds you that even in those dark places, there's still potential for love and redemption and connection.
Like a reminder that we're all in this together. We all mess up. But we also have this capacity for incredible good.
Right. And it's those choices that we make,
Yeah.
between love and hate, forgiveness and resentment. Those are the choices that really define us.
So it's not just a family drama.
No.
It's a story about these choices we all face, about the consequences, and I guess ultimately about trying to find meaning when the world can feel pretty meaningless.
Exactly. And that search for meaning is something that I think speaks to everyone no matter when they read it. It's what makes this book a timeless masterpiece.
Okay, so we've talked about the characters, the themes, passion, nihilism, redemption, and of course that murder mystery that hangs over everything. But how does that all actually play out? Who killed Fyodor Pavlovich?
Well, that's where it gets even more complicated.
Okay.
Dostoevsky doesn't give us a simple answer. He creates this really intricate web of motives and suspicions and different points of view. You start to question everything you thought you knew about each character.
So it's not just about finding out who did it, but also why they did it.
Exactly. And as this investigation unfolds, you start to realize the who is almost less important than the why. Because the real mystery is inside the human heart.
So Dostoevsky is really pushing the boundaries of a typical murder mystery then.
Yeah.
He's using it as a way to explore all these bigger questions.
Yeah.
About human nature and morality and truth.
That's exactly right. He's not interested in giving us easy answers or solutions. He wants us to really think about these questions, grapple with them, and come to our own conclusions.
Okay, so this isn't a light read.
No.
It's a book that makes you think. But I'm getting the sense that it's also incredibly rewarding to read.
Oh, it is.
What makes it worth all that effort?
I think for me, it's how deeply Dostoevsky understands the human condition. He gets the darkness, the contradictions, the complexity. And he doesn't shy away from showing us all of that,
It's like he's holding up this mirror to us, showing us both the good and the bad and asking us to face it.
And that can be tough.
Yeah.
Even painful at times. But it's also incredibly freeing. Because by facing that darkness, that struggle within ourselves and others, I think it opens us up to the possibility of growth, of compassion, of really understanding.
So even though it's dark and difficult, there's still hope in this book. A sense that even with all the suffering, something good can still happen.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what makes this book so powerful.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you easy answers, but it shows you that even in the darkest times, there's still a chance for love, for redemption, for connection.
We've talked about how dark and complex the Brothers Karamazov is, but one thing that really stuck with me is how Dostoevsky manages to work in these moments of humor. Like, even with all the tragedy, there are these flashes of wit.
Oh, absolutely. It would have been so easy to just make this whole story grim. But Dostoevsky, he understood that life, even at its worst, is full of these ridiculous situations.
Totally. Like, remember that scene with the drunken monk?
Oh, yeah.
Or when Fyodor Pavlovich is trying to pull one over on everybody with those crazy schemes of his?
Yeah.
You can't help but laugh even while you're thinking, what are you doing?
And those moments are so key because they stop the novel from feeling too oppressive. They remind us that even when things are terrible, there's still room for laughter and absurdity, for that joy of just being alive,
It's like those moments are what keeps the characters and even the readers from losing hope. It's this little reminder that even in a world full of darkness, there are still these good things that can catch us off guard.
And that brings us back to the ending, doesn't it? Because after all the suffering, the book does end on a hopeful note.
Yeah, you mentioned before that the ending shifts our focus to something bigger than just this one family. Can you talk more about that? What makes it hopeful?
Well, the ending really focuses on Alyosha and his relationship with these young boys. He becomes a mentor to them, guiding them and showing them what love and compassion can do.
So it's almost like he's planting a seed for a better future, a future where these boys might make different choices than their fathers did.
Exactly. It's this very subtle message, but it's so powerful. Dostoevsky is saying that even though there's so much darkness, there's always a chance for things to get better.
Yeah.
And that hope often lies with the next generation.
It's like even if we don't see the impact of what we do, our choices, especially to love and forgive, they ripple outward and they touch people's lives long after we're gone.
That's a good point. It really makes you think about what resonated most with you in this book. What stays with you, even after you've finished reading it?
I think for me, it's that struggle between the dark and the light that we keep coming back to. Dostoevsky doesn't hold back from showing how terrible people can be. But he also shows us how much potential for love and goodness there is too. And he leaves it up to the reader to decide what path to take.
That's a choice we all have to make every day, isn't it? Love or hate, forgiveness or resentment.
Yeah.
The Brothers Karamazov is this powerful reminder that those choices, even something small like an act of kindness, can make a difference.
So it's not just about this family then, it's about all of us.
Right.
It's about the human experience and ultimately about finding hope even when things are really tough.
And isn't that what makes great literature so powerful? It's about these universal truths, things that are still relevant no matter what.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've covered a lot today.
We have.
We've explored the characters, the ideas, the mystery of the murder, the ending, even the humor that makes this book so interesting.
It's been great to really dive into this with you.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on Dostoevsky's work.
We definitely encourage you to check out the Brothers Karamazov. It's an incredible journey.
As we wrap up, we want to leave you with one last thought. The Brothers Karamazov is a book that sticks with you. It asks these big questions that really challenge us.
Right.
And it reminds us that the search for meaning and connection, for love, it's something we're all doing. So we ask you, what will you take away from this? What will you carry with you as you keep exploring your own life?